All right, folks, welcome back to Spumzo's Music School. My goal is to help you wherever you are in your journey as a musician, from amateur to pro, and take you to the next level. For those of you who have been watching the last couple of live videos and lessons, what I've been doing is starting with crafting your first 16 bars and building upon that. Our last lesson was on putting harmonies to your melodies. And today what I'm going to be focusing on is really making your melody memorable. I hope these lessons have been informative for you and that you'll keep going on your journey with me. Today, I'm going to be focusing on 3 principles. One is to think about writing always from the perspective of a singer. What I mean by that is, what will a singer need? How will it make it sound good for a singer? And by doing so, we're really going to be helping you write well for instrumentalists. Someone who plays sax or plays piano has a lot more musical choices. They can play low, they can play mid, they can play high, they can do quite a lot at the same time, something like that, but a singer can't. And the interesting thing is, by thinking about writing for singers, often with our melodies, what we do is we actually get good melodies for all instruments, because many people understand music from the perspective of what they can sing. So you will see on your screen, I'm starting from where we left off. I have gone down. I know when we were harmonizing, we harmonized per note as well as per bar. But what I want to really do here with this lesson is go back to harmonizing per bar, because we're going to be taking this melody, we're going to be developing it. In the next lesson on Friday, we're going to be adding lyrics to it, and then we're going to be producing it, or writing for the rhythm section next week, and the following week we're going to be producing it and having it ready for a singer. So I want to really focus on this melody and grow it as much as we can as we go forward. So let's get right into it. And the reason, I've already explained the reason why I want you to think about music from the perspective of a singer, in terms of the fact that as human beings, a lot of our understanding from the world comes from our own languages, our own speaking. And even with music, a good chunk of our understanding and what makes it memorable is if you can tie music to the voice. Again, many options. You will have many options when you're writing for musicians, but it's always good to start with the singer. And the first thing you want to think about with singers is that singers need to breathe. As I talk to you here, I am breathing. I'm not going on one long roll of words that never ends and running out of breath. So when we think about writing our melodies, we need to start having things called rest. Now you'll see here in the melody that I've written for the saxophone, there's nothing but notes. There's a note C, E, B, D, C, held for 2 bars. Then C, E, B, D, E, held for 2 bars. F, D, G, E, all the way to the end. There's just notes. So this is already impossible for a singer to sing without having to find places to take a breath. So one of the things I like to do is as I write, is to start creating places where someone can sing or breathe, which makes it more singable. So what I'll do here is, starting just from the C, E, if I play it and I sing along, I'm just going to play it and see where I feel like I need to breathe. That's the starting point for this. Okay, I feel like I need to breathe at the end of this phrase here. So what I do is I introduce a rest here. These little markers, and you'll see more of them as I go on, will serve as places for our singers or musicians to know to stop playing. In the case of a singer, in the case of a sax player, a flute player, anyone who uses a breathing instrument, they're going to use those places to breathe. Having said that, I think then the next most logical place is going to be here, because this melody rests for 2 bars, and then again here. Okay, and then maybe because this is the end of our piece of music, we will ask our singer or sax player to hold for as long as possible. Let me just go through the first 2 phrases and hear them. I actually feel, and I apologize for my singing, I'm a terrible singer. I just do it to get a sense of things for people who can actually sing. I actually feel like this rest could be 2 beats rather than just 1. It feels more natural to me that way. Okay. So first thing we've done is we've already established a place for our singer to take breaths. But again, what you're seeing a lot with this melody is that it's landing on the beat quite a lot. It's landing on the same place, so it's ba be ba be ba ba be ba, etc. So it's kind of boring. So beyond just using rests to create some flow in this, some excitement in this, the next thing I want to do, the second part of this, is I actually want to start adding some rhythm into the main part of the melody, so that it's not always landing on the beat. It's just kind of moving a bit and giving me some excitement. So ba, 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 ba. Let's just see what happens if we add maybe a rest here. Just break it up a bit. That sounds decent, but I think it shouldn't be rest. Rather, this note just gets held a little bit longer. And then here, I'm actually going to move this note here, the C, a bit forward. So I'm introducing ties, and these little brackets underneath the notes really mean that you want to tie the notes together. So you start the note here, you play it through over the bar. Sounds like... repeat what I did here. Okay, so now I'm moving it off that kind of central landing on the bar thing the whole time, and just moving my melody around. I haven't settled on it yet, but I'm starting to experiment with just adding rhythm, and I've added some pauses, rest that is. Maybe syncopate here as well. The F just before, and this is just my personal preference. You know, earlier on I moved the notes back half a beat. Now I'm moving the notes forward half a beat. This is just about taste. It's really experiment, but what you want to do is start introducing some syncopation to your melodies, to see if they add to your melody, and they often do, realistically. that's a nice syncopation, and I want to carry it on even here. D. Okay, so the original melody is actually syncopated back here. I really like what's happening with the syncopation when it's coming forward. So even here, going into the final section, I'm going to syncopate. So those are your first two things that you want to start doing when you are, what do you call this? When you're improving your melody and really starting to make it singable. Is you want to start adding rests for the singer. And you also want to start adding syncopation for interest. However, we don't necessarily want to stop there. The next thing we can do is to start adding notes. Now, one thing about writing, and you'll see this when we start writing on Friday, the lyrics to the melody, is that one of the things that makes melodies memorable is also understanding how they connect to the language that you're writing in. So in the case of this lesson, I am teaching you to write in English, and therefore I need to think about the fact that English is a language with syllables. You know, I mean, every language is a language with syllables, but the way words are constructed, what you can do is you can start adding notes to each syllable of the word. And we're going to do and go through that in our lyric writing lesson on Friday. But already what that tells me is that it's going to be very difficult with this amount of notes to write effectively for English. So what I can start doing is actually start getting this melody to move. And what I tend to do is, if there's one section which is still, I like the next section to move. I already talked about that when it comes to harmonizing your melody, in terms of having this area, these first two bars, the melody is moving while the chords are still, and then in the next two bars, the melody is still while the chords are moving. And what I'm going to do here is that in the second section, I'm going to start introducing some extra movement even. So if you'll notice in this melody, if I come here to bar 6, 7, 8, going into 9, the beats of the melody throughout the song have been going for two beats. And what I want to start introducing is that they go every beat, right? And because I've skipped notes, which we covered in lesson 1, I have notes that I can play with. So here on this next beat, I can put an E. And on this beat, I can put an F. And I might do a thing where I just go up the D minor chord. All right, that's D minor chord. D, F, A, D. And I'll start here and I'll do a D, F, A, F, come back down. D. might just go down the scale a little bit. C. And end on the A at the bottom there. So this second section now sounds like. Okay, that's a lot of movement. I'm not sure I'm happy with all that movement. Pardon the rain outside. But let's just have a listen from it from the beginning here. Now, in fact, let's listen to the second part into that new section. I'm actually gonna do something like this. I don't mind it, but I'm gonna syncopate this. Syncopation really adds color to your music, so I'm gonna add even more syncopation there. I don't know if I like that. I'm actually gonna, once you start syncopating, man, it's an endless, what did I just do? E. Okay. Let's move that just a little bit. Okay, so I'm just moving the melody even more. I'm just like, what this is really growing the motif. Okay, let's have a listen to this whole melody. It's got syncopation, it's got rests, all over the place, and let's see how it sounds. I like it. Simplifying it. Okay. I would sometimes syncopate this, but there is a thing called over-egging the pudding, whatever that means. And in this case, I actually like where this melody is. Now, the next thing we want to really start thinking about, as I've said, when writing, you want to be thinking about writing from the perspective of a singer, because writing from the perspective of a singer makes it a lot easier for us to memorize. Having said that, for this exercise, it's eventually going to be produced and have a live singer on it. So what I want to start doing is start thinking about the ranges and keys that singers can sing in. So if you just have a look at this document here, which I've created, what I've got here is your standard vocal ranges and how I like to think when I'm writing, and this affects the key. You know, we've up until now been writing in the key of C because it's the easiest to use. It's got all the white notes here. Right? But when thinking about singers, we need to understand that not all singers are going to be able to sing in the same key because of what is known as vocal ranges. So over here, looking at it, I've got the standard vocal ranges for singers. And what you'll see immediately is that, generally speaking, what you want to do is have no more than an interval of a tenth in your singer's range. So, for instance, if I can just play this, if someone is singing a tenth up is going to be C sharp, right? So, now I'm a terrible singer, so I can't quite get there, but generally speaking, this is where your singers are going to be comfortable. Your lowest note and your top note are about a tenth apart. And a tenth actually means 10 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 notes. It's a 10 note interval in the major scale. So looking at it, for instance, with the sopranos, you start at D and you go up to G. Generally speaking, this is the general kind of understanding of sopranos. In my view, I tend to keep my soprano singing a tenth. So instead of going all the way up to G, which is technically an 11th, I want to keep it a 10th, and I go to F sharp. So soprano. Ooh, what's the scale? Okay, so they'll go from your D to your F sharp. That's generally comfortable if you're writing for sopranos. Your altos will generally be going from an A all the way up to C, which is a minor 10. Okay. It's an A minor scale in the key of C. Your tenors, D to F sharp again. Right, and then your baritone is your G to B. Another 10th. Okay, and what I've got here, it'll be explained clearer when it comes to the downloadable format, is on the left is the general kind of, if you go into your orchestration books, what they'll tell you the general vocal ranges are. The one where it says soloist is my preferred. When I'm writing for soloist, soprano, I write between D and F sharp. Altos, I write between the A and the C. D and F sharp again for tenors, and G and B for the baritones. And that's for your lead singer. That's how I prefer to write it. And that's just so you don't have problems where you write out of the range of a singer and then they come into rehearsal and there's all sorts of problems where you have to change the key and it affects the orchestra or the band or the session musicians. Even worse is if the session musicians and the orchestra record before the singer, then you're in a world of pain if it's out of the key. And also, the second part is where I prefer to write my backing vocals. Man, I think we are frozen here. Let me just get the screen up again. Screen capture. Well, he's just gotta re-add it. Okay. And so the backing vocals, as I said, I keep them a little bit tighter because I really want them to blend. So I'm not really focused on them always singing high. Although with the sopranos, I do sometimes push them all the way to the G. And that's purely, and I'll be honest, I usually only write that in the last 4 bars if I really want to create a huge choral thing and I've got lots of sopranos. But if I don't have lots of sopranos, I will probably keep them down to the E. In fact, it's safer to say. And if you are looking for some useful information about that, there's a book you can buy on Amazon called Essential Dictionary of Orchestration by Dave Black and Tom Giroux. I go to that all the time whenever I'm orchestrating. It's got all the instrument ranges for all the instruments in the orchestra, and it tells you where kind of the best sounding parts of each instrument are. Okay, so going back to our vocal ranges. I know that for this particular piece of music, a male is going to be recording, and that male is going to be a tenor singer. With that being the case, I really want to look at what the range of the tenor is. And here it is, D to F sharp, right? So let's add a tenor here, tenor singer, and put our melody on that. Whoops. Okay, that's up now. And let's get rid of our alto saxophone. We don't need him anymore as we progress this piece of music. Now, the interesting thing to note is immediately is that this piece of music falls out of the range of a tenor singer. Right? You might do it for a alto singer, probably do just fine for an alto, but for a tenor it's a bit low. You've got a B here, a B here. It's not going to sound really nice. And I want my tenor soloist to be between D and F sharp. And honestly, if you want the song to be mellow, you want to probably stick to the lower side of this. So if you want a song to be mellow and smooth, I'd be between D and the B here. If I want the tenor to really push, I'd be starting at the G and going all the way up to F sharp. So in my case, I want to kind of split the difference. So I want the lowest note to be an F. This B needs to become an F. So that is a transposition of one. So I should be going to G flat. Ooh. For reading, I'm going to go to G. I'm going to transpose to G and see what that looks like. Nothing selected. Yes. Whole operation to the score. I want to go up to G, to the key of G. We're in C now. There's G. Transpose the key signatures. I do not want to use double sharp and flat. Unless you want to read all that, don't. Okay. This is what we're looking like. I think we can move the piano part down actually an octave just to sound a bit nicer. Nope, that's too low. Is it? Yeah, it's a bit low. So let's just keep it here. Let's have a listen. This is the key. This looks super comfortable for a tenor. B, F, A. Highest note is an E. That's our top note for our tenor. And that is, yeah, cool. Under the F sharp. So that sounds really, looks good for a tenor singer. So let's listen to it in the new key. Okay. Okay, that sounds actually pretty darn good. Now, what I'm going to do now, which is what I like to do, is like once I've written about this much of the song, I want to start introducing a song structure, right? So in this case, our 16 bars reflect an old style of writing, which is the jazz AABA. So this first section would be called an A section. It's repeated, and then there's a B section here between bar 9 and 12, and then we go back to AABA. Now, more commonly, we deal with we deal with chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, right? So what would we use? So I tend to look at my piece of music and I go, what musical material do we have, and what does it justify? I feel like this could be a good chorus. Honestly, this whole thing could be a good chorus. And then we need to start actually writing melody for a verse. Okay, so how do we approach that? I'm just wondering if I should write it now or write it in between, and then we talk about what I've done. Actually, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. This is a good starting point in terms of adding rhythm. So let's keep it like this. Right now, what we have done is we started with 16 bars. We then added harmony, and we've now added rhythm and rests to our 16 bars. The next thing we're gonna do is we're going to create a song structure and a song formula so we can add lyrics. I don't think I need to sit that and do that with you live. What I'm going to do is between now and our lesson on Friday, I'm going to create the structure and for an entire song based on this melody. And on Friday, we're going to come in, I'm going to review, and I'm going to show you how I did it, because it's all the lessons from lesson 1 and lesson 2, just expanding on it. And then we're going to get into writing the actual lyrics for this song. We won't write all of them. I'm going to write most of them offline, but we're going to start from this place. And I'm going to show you the decisions I made to get to the full song on Friday. And then we're going to start adding lyrics to this. All right. I hope you've really learned something from this. I hope you've enjoyed it. You have a good day further, and I will see you in the next one. Like and subscribe if you'd like more content like this. Cheers.